Welcome, everyone. This is Israel with another Sabbath Day class. We thank you for joining us this evening. We're very excited about the fact that you have decided to spend your Shabbat with us. We are still dealing with the 364-day calendar of Enoch. For the first portion of it, if we get time, we'll go into the law of purity, and we'll follow that, get into that teaching as well. But we say thank you for joining us. We are so glad that you're here, and we hope that you enjoy the class. Again, to everyone who's on the line, if you have any feedback, noise, anything at all whatsoever, please push mute so that we don't hear the background noise and we don't have to stop the class to be able to mute your phone. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm getting ready to bring up the PowerPoint presentation. For you all who can't see the screen, we're pretty much in the book of Jubilees, and we're in the book of Genesis, so we're all over the place today. And if you have access to a computer, you'll be able to pull these books up and just Google them and see what we see. All I've done is taken these scriptures and put them on PowerPoint slides for the people who can see the screen. There are some pictures, but there's no more than the 365-day calendar of Enoch that's on here. So I know last week it was some difficulties with us being able to understand how this count is done. And it was very, 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 very traumatic for some people. They were confused, and I didn't want to leave anybody confused, so we're going to go through it again. Now, I haven't muted anyone's phone. I'm going to ask you not to interrupt until I'm finished, and then I'll ask if we have any questions. I think the problem is that a lot of people came in and they wanted to put their input in, but it caused a lot of confusion, and a lot of people came back and said, I was totally lost. But if you get pencil and paper, we're going to go through this very slowly, and then you'll be able to, the light bulb will come on, because I took some of the issues that we had last week, and I tried to answer the questions so that it'll be answered so you'll understand how this thing goes. But when I put it together, it comes together like a glove. It's flawless. Okay, so we're going to start, and it says Enoch Part 2. So I wanted to go here, and this is the Enochian calendar, which is 364 days. Now, we proved that in the book of Jubilees. Difficult. Please don't hang up, because it's not anything hard to know. It isn't. It's only difficult because people made it difficult trying to explain it. But if you'll just listen, it's really simple. Now, the way the calendar is you have, it's like a pinwheel. You have 12 o'clock, you have 3 o'clock, you have 6 o'clock, and you have 9 o'clock. Think about it like a clock. I'm going to say it again, those 4 points. You have 12 o'clock, which is at the top. You have 3 o'clock, which is off to the right. You have 6 o'clock, which is at the bottom. And you have 9 o'clock to the left. Those are the 4 points. Those 4 points represent 4 seasons. Very easy. Just remember that. Okay? Now, in between those seasons, you have 3 months to each season. So the first month is, I hope you guys are writing this down, is 30 days. The second month is 30 days. And the last month is 30 days plus 1. And when you get to the plus 1, that's when you're going to hit a season. Okay? So that's how it goes. So then you have, and then when you hit that season, they considered that to be a feast, but the Most High never called it a feast, but Noah did. Noah named it as a feast. Okay, but then after that, you hit that season, say we're at the summer season, then you start to count again. You have 30 days, you have another month which is 30 days, and then you have the last month which is 30 days plus 1. When you hit that plus 1, you're at another season. And so forth on around until you get back to 12 o'clock. Pretty simple. Not hard to understand. The problem that we came in with last week is because of the moon. And I'm going to cover that today. I'm going to cover all of that so that we understand. So we got 4 seasons. So you have, and this is how the earth is rotating, and with the rotation, you have the different seasons. They call them solstices. We just say 4 seasons. So I just want to make sure that we have a picture of that. Anybody have any questions about the 4 seasons? Because that's verified in the Bible, which I'm going to bring the scriptures up in a few minutes. Remember, we have 4 seasons, and in between each one of those seasons, we have 3 months. And it's broken down the same way in the calendar that we have today. Because
I got a question.
Hold on 1 minute. When you start breaking down those 3 months, you'll see where summer starts, and you got 3 months of that, and then when spring starts, you got 3 months of that, and then with winter, so forth and so on. Yes, sir.
My question is, where you get the extra day from?
I'm getting ready to get to that. I'm going to that. Trust me.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit it today, and I'm gonna show you. It's really easy. I think the problem is that we have been taught to use the moon, but I'm gonna cover that too. Okay. Now here we go. This is Genesis chapter 8. We're in Genesis chapter 8, and we're going to verse 21 through 22.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that season slice there, that little slender part, that one day that makes it the 31st day?
Yes, ma'am.
You all were referring to. I put that question in the chat, but apparently you can look at it. So.
Yes, ma'am. That's the 31st. That's the extra day.
No, I said, was that the date you all were referring to last week?
I don't know. We starting over. We throw last week out. Don't even think about last week. Throw it out. We're going to start over with, and we're going to deal with it from this perspective, and hopefully you'll be able to get it from this perspective. If we have to go back to last week's question, we will, okay? But just follow this trail of thinking and see if this helps you understand better, okay? Don't think about a date. I don't want you to think about any particular date, anything particular in terms of days. I just want you to understand seasons right now so that we all agree that there are 4 seasons. Is that correct?
Yes.
Everybody agree?
I do, yes.
Okay,
yes.
We got 4 seasons. So we're going to Genesis chapter 8, verse 21 through 22. All right, here we go. It says, and the Most High smelled a sweet savor. This is after Noah has come to and hit land, and he sent up a sacrifice to the Most High. And the Most High said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more every living thing as I have done. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. So here's your seasons. Plus day and night, it will not cease. Any questions to that? Okay. All right, here we go. All right, so here we go. We got spring, and this is just a picture of the 4 seasons for you all who cannot see the screen. We got spring, we have summer, we have autumn, we have winter. Those are the seasons. Anybody have an issue with that? No? Okay, everybody knows that the earth is on the cycle of the 4 seasons. All right, here we go. Now we're going in the book of Jubilees, chapter 6. We're starting at verse 22. So if you cannot see my screen, just open up your Google and type in Jubilees chapter 6, and then it'll come up and you'll be able to read it with us and scroll down to verse 22. I'll give you a few minutes. A few seconds anyway. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. It says, for I have written in the book of the first law, in that which I have written for thee, that thou shouldest celebrate it in its season, one day in the year. Now, he's talking about the Sabbath. You can read back up there later. He said, and I explained to thee its sacrifices, that the children of Israel should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generation in this month, one day in every year. Okay, so he's talking about the Passover. Watch now. Watch what he says. The Passover.
Oh, okay.
Okay? It says, and on the new moon of the first month. And we write that down. On the new moon of the first month. And on the new moon of the fourth month. And on the new moon of the seventh month. And on the new moon of the 10th month are days of remembrance. Those are 4 different dates. What do you think those 4 different dates represent?
Holy days? Holy days?
No, I mean just
seasons.
Seasons, thank you. Just regular seasons. So you got 4 dates. On the new moon of each one of those 4 dates are 4 separate seasons.
Question.
Yes.
All right, so we're not supposed to celebrate each month, each moon.
We not. Don't worry about the new moon. We're gonna get to that later. I'm trying to get the calculations to the holy days. I'm not discarding none of that, but just don't get confused. Just stay focused on this, and then we'll get to the moons, because the Most High tells us to celebrate the first day of the month. Yes, we are supposed to do that. Yes. But don't bring that into play. Throw that out. I'm trying to get you just focused on this one thing right here, so we can get through this, and then we can go through the the moons of the month or whatever. So we got 4 dates. So it's on the new moon of the first month. It's on the new moon of the 4th month. It's on the new moon of the 7th month. And it's on the new moon of the 10th month. And he said, are the days of remembrance. Watch what he says. So here we are. This is remember this. This is 12 o'clock. Remember, this is 3 o'clock. This is 6 o'clock, and this is 9 o'clock. So we got the first month, and then you count 1, 2, 3. The 4th month is right here. Then you count 1, 2, 3. Hold on, let me see. Well, no, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7th month is right here in autumn. And then you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 10th month. You see that?
Yeah.
You always start from the beginning. Everybody got that?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my goodness! Somebody said no. Who said no?
Well, I'm trying. You said the 7th, and then you counted from what day? The next day.
Okay, here we go. We're gonna start over again. We're gonna start here. This is 12 o'clock. Okay, at the beginning of the Enochian calendar, right here at the top. So we're gonna count. This is the first one right here. We're gonna count 1, 2, 3. 4th month starts here.
4th month starts in the next season.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now we're going to start back at the beginning, and we got the 1st month, the 4th month, and what's the next date?
7th.
The 7th month. So let's start back to the beginning, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. And when does the 7th month start, Brother Donia?
In the next season.
In the next season. There you getting it. Okay, here we go again. Now we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to count again. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When does the 10th day start, Brother Donia?
Next season.
In the next season. So every day, in them 4 days, when he pulled out those 4 days, they all start in the next season. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
1/3 season.
Thank you so much.
That's good. That's good.
You getting it? You got anybody got a problem? Don't be afraid to say I don't understand.
I got a problem. But
no, I'm just talking about with this.
But I'm not going to, I'm just saying, see, we're dealing with the Enoch calendar, and
gonna show you in Scripture. So I just want to make sure you understand this part. Okay?
I thought we supposed to be dealing with the lunar.
I'm getting ready to. Will you let me show you?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So we got this part. Okay. Here we go. So now anybody doesn't understand the Enochian calendar, don't be afraid to say I don't get it.
I get it. A guest says in the chat, new moons are at 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock.
I'm just using that as an example. Just tell them I'm using that as the 4 points on the calendar. Because the 4 points are at 12, 3, 6, and 9.
Okay.
That's just where if you think about it like a clock. I'm just using that as an example.
Okay.
And tell anybody who doesn't get it, if you don't get it after class, call me. But I want to get through this so we can get this done. Okay, here we go. 4 divisions. He says, and the days of the season in 4 divisions of the years, these are written and ordained as a testimony forever. So we know that there are 4 divisions, and the days of the seasons are in 4 divisions. Everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay, watch. Enoch, verse 24. This is in Jubilees chapter 6, verse 24. It says, and Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever, so that they have become thereby a memorial unto him. So this is something that Noah ordained as a feast. And here we go again. These are the 4. He named these days as feast days. When the seasons came in, he had a feast. He had a feast for spring. He had a feast for summer. He had a feast for autumn. He had a feast for winter. Noah named those as feast days for himself. Watch. Verse 25. And on the new moon of the first month, he was bidden to make for himself an ark. And on that day, the earth became dry, and he opened the ark and saw the earth. Watch. And on the new moon of the 4th month, the mouths of the depths of the abyss beneath were closed. And on the new moon of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abyss of the earth were open, and water began to descend into them. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. So this is on his way in the ark, and they're going through this traumatic experience of the ark. Now watch. And this is verse 28. And on this account, he ordained them for himself as feasts for a memorial forever, and thus are they ordained. Here we go again. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. Okay. And this is going to get very interesting. And I know this is going to be very difficult for some, but I want you to pay attention to this. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks from one to another past their memorial, from the first to the second, and from the second to the third, and from the third to the 4th. What do you think that means? Somebody tell me what that means.
I didn't get that one.
Okay, let me go back. I'm going to read it again. And here we go. And they passed them on the heavenly tablets, and they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks from one to another.
13 weeks per season.
Thank you.
Yeah. I concur.
13 weeks from the first to the second, from the second to the third, and from the third to the 4th. 13 weeks, right? This is what Noah's saying, that each time the new seasons came around, it was 13 weeks.
13 weeks, okay.
13 weeks. 13 weeks, 4 times, 13 weeks. Watch. Now, this is the picture of the moon and the earth. Watch what happens. Here we go with the moon. Now, we're going to deal with this 28-day cycle. It takes the moon 28 days to orbit the earth. It makes this orbit 13 times each year. The standard of the measurement is 28 cycles called the moon. So if you take 28 days times 13, guess how much it ends up to be?
364.
How many?
364 days.
364 days.
Yeah. All right.
Here we go. Watch. Because it is a medium between 29.5 synodic cycles of the moon from new moon to new moon and 27.1 sidereal cycles of the moon, the moon cycle sometime between 28 days, sometime is 30 days, sometime the cycle of the moon is 31 days, but overall it's on a 28-day cycle, and it cycles 13 times, and 13 times 28 is 364 days.
13 times 28.
Use your calculator on your computer.
So I'm just saying, just for clarification for me, 13 times 28 is 364.
Yes, sir.
That's without adding any days.
Without anything. Yes, sir.
All right.
I mean, it's so smooth. It runs so smooth. It's kind of scary.
Well, that's the point I was trying to make. That's the point I was trying to make. That is that we have the moon is on a 28-day cycle.
Mm-hmm. And you got to think about it as how many times it orbits around the Earth is 13 times. And 13 times 28 is 364 days exactly.
Okay.
All right, now here we're still in Jubilees. We're in Jubilees chapter 6. We're going to verse 31. He says, and all the days of the commandments will be 250 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year. So now we know when you're dealing with weeks, it's 52 weeks in a year. All right. He said, thus it is engraved and ordained on the heavenly tablets. So here we go. So you got 364 days in a year, and you got 52 weeks. And there are 7 days in a week.
Okay.
When you divide 364 by 7, it equals 52 weeks.
That's the point I was trying to make. 7 days in a week.
Yes. Divided by 364 equals 52 weeks.
Okay.
And the moon is on a 28-day cycle, and it orbits the Earth 13 times.
Absolutely.
And 13 times 28 is 364 days, to the exact.
All right. And divide 7 into 364, get you 52.
Get you 52 weeks on the nose every time.
That's 7 days. 7 days a week. Okay.
Yep. Yep. All right, here we go. All right, 31, verse 31. And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year.
Okay.
So this is how it rolls. It rolls like this every year to the letter on the dot. Okay, watch. 32. We're in the book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 32. It says, and command thou the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days. And these will constitute a complete year, and they will not disturb it time from its days and from its feasts. So if we do this right, we won't miss a feast day. It'll fall like it's supposed to fall.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So, based on what we were saying last week, I know you don't want to bring it up, but this is basically exactly what we were talking about last week, from the standpoint of if you're somewhere where you're asleep for 3 days. It was 27 phases.
28.
People back then, 28, yep. People back then understood each phase, so wherever you picked up at, all you had to do was look at the phase, and you would know what day it was based on that.
No, you would still miss it, and I'm going to show you why you would miss it. Because you can never use the moon to calculate the day. The moon is only there to calculate the month, and I'm gonna show you what I mean. Just hold on, I'm on my way there. Believe me, this thing bothered me all week. I was like, I got to get this. I got to be able to let them see this because we need this, and it's storming really bad behind me. Okay, here we go. We're still in that verse. It says, "For everything will fall out." Listen what it says. Everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast. So if you do it right, it's going to fall just like it's supposed to fall. Don't matter what part of the world you in. It doesn't matter whether you miss a day and you sleep for 3 days. It doesn't really matter because part of what you said is correct. Because if you know what month it was, because the new moon, remember, it specifies the month, you'll be able to know by the sun what day you're in. But watch, here we go. Watch what he says. This is the moon cycle. He says, "For I know, and from hence will I declare it unto thee, and it is not of my own devising. For the book of lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feast of the Gentile after their error and after their ignorance." Verse 36, we in Jubilees, the book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 36. He said, "For there will be those who will assuredly make the observation of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon." Watch. It says 37, "For this reason the year will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day, and they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy, for they will go wrong as to the months and the Sabbaths and the feast and the jubilees." It says, "And for this reason I commanded and to testify to thee, that thou mayest testify to them. For after thy death thy children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they will go wrong. As to the new moons and the seasons and the Sabbaths and the festivals, they will all kinds of blood and all kinds of flesh." Would someone please put their phone on mute? We hear children in the back. Okay, now I'm going to show you something else.
Can you read that last part again? Because I was missing it because I was listening to the children.
Okay, hold on. Which part? The whole verse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Let me go back. I'm going to go back a little bit further.
Okay, can you go back to the part with the heathen? Because I think I missed something.
With the Gentile?
With the Gentiles, yeah.
Okay. Verse 35. It says, "For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto thee, and it is not of my own devising. From the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the season and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason the year will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day of the testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. For they will go wrong as to the months, and Sabbaths, and feasts, and jubilees. For this reason I have commanded and testified to thee, that thou mayest testify to them. For after thy death thy children will disturb them." so that they will not make the year 364 days only, and for this reason they will go wrong. As to the new moons, because the new moons represent the month, and the seasons, and the Sabbaths, and the festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood and with all kinds of flesh. Okay, now, let me get here. Oh, okay. Any questions before I go into this?
Yes. When is the new year?
Oh, I'm getting ready to go into that. Just give me a minute. Let me finish this, and then because we went through that last week. Remember, the new year starts at when there's equal parts day and equal parts night. We don't call it the equinox or whatever they want to call it, but it's calculated with equal parts day and equal parts night.
And what day is that?
We haven't gone through that yet.
Okay.
Sister Yaina, there's a question in the chat.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, maybe it's a statement. When you do not count the 4 seasonal days, the days, and equals 360 divided by 12 equals 30 days, 30-day months equally.
That's not right. I just explained that to them. Whoever said that, I just explained it. Okay. So that's not right. That's not how it's done. So if you don't understand it, call me after class and we'll go over that. Because there's 360, I just read it, where there's 364 days in a year. Now I'm going to show you something. Anybody else?
Because if you go 30 days, directly, you wouldn't come up to 364 days. It would be a 0 on the end of that.
Exactly. So that's not correct. Okay, here's the error. Watch. It says, as the sun sets, the moon rises with the side that faces the earth fully exposed to the sunlight. The moon has phases because it orbits the earth, which causes the portion we see illuminated to change. The moon takes 27.3 days to orbit the earth, but the lunar cycle from the new moon to new moon is 29.5, according to this portion. So some of your days you have 28 days in the day, and some you have 30. So there's no way to use the moon because you would not come up with a 64-day cycle. Okay, now this is very important because this is going to help you. The 7-day cycle. Because we have to understand that everything the Most High did, He did it on the 7-day cycle. Let me get it here. 7-day cycle. Okay, what is the 7-day cycle? 7 days equals 1 week, which equals 7 days. It's 168 hours. It's 10,080 minutes. 604,800 seconds. That's a 1 week cycle. That's what you're dealing with in hours, minutes, and weeks, days, hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay, we're going to prove the 7 day because that's important because there's a lot of teaching out there that the Sabbath is that they started on a Thursday or a Wednesday, but the Most High has always stayed on a 7-day cycle. I'm going to prove it to you. Genesis chapter 2, verse 1 to 3. It says, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. On the 7th day, Yah ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he made. And Yah blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because that in it he rested from all his work which Yah had created and made. All right, here's another scripture. Exodus chapter 31, verse 16 through 18. It says, verse 16, wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generation for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Most High made the heavens and earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. He said, and he gave unto Moshe, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of Yah. Now, here's another one. So we know that it took 6 days for this whole thing to be brought together. But on the 7th day, he rested. Now watch. Exodus chapter 23, verse 10 to 12. It says, in 6 years, and this is the commandment for the land. He said, in 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and thou shalt gather in the fruit thereof. But the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie still, that the poor of thy people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner thou shalt deal with thy vineyards and thy olive yards. 6 days shalt thou do thy work, and on the 7th day thou shalt rest. So 7 is very important to the Most High, and it amazed me how he allowed for a whole year that the people had access to it. The poor people. They couldn't do anything with it. The 7th year, that the poor people may eat, and whatever they left, the beast could have a rest.
That shows how much we had it going on, huh?
Heck yeah. And not to mention, they disobeyed that too, and that's exactly how we ended up in Babylon.
70 times 7, yeah.
You know?
Right.
So he's very particular about, and he takes care of his people.
Right. Right.
Okay, so here we go again. We're at verse 12. It says, 6 days shalt thou do thy work, and on the 7th day shalt thou rest. Now listen what he said. He said that thy ox and thy ass may rest, and the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed. He's always looking out for the other person, because we do need a day of rest. We need at least one.
Right.
All right, here we go. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 12. We're going 12 through 14. He said, keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Most High thy Elohim hath commanded thee. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. He said, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Most High thy Elohim. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy ox, nor thy ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. Nobody, everybody. Can you imagine what the land must have been like on that day? It had to be completely quiet. The whole land. I've never been in a place where the whole land was quiet. It's like an early Sunday morning, about 7 o'clock, when ain't nobody on the street, or 6 o'clock on the Sunday morning. It just is peaceful. There's no cars moving, no people stirring. It's just quiet.
That also brings prepping to the forefront, doesn't it?
It brings what?
Prepping.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody was made to rest, even the animals. You didn't have no servants that day either. You had to take care of yourself. They rested.
Imagine having enough food stored up for a year.
Yeah. And that's something, you better say that again, because we had to for that year, that 7th year that it rested. You had to have it stored up because you couldn't touch nothing.
Makes you wonder how they preserved all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. They had a way, sis. I'm sure they had a way. You know? And not only that, you had to store enough for your animals. And everybody.
I mean, they didn't eat a lot of the preservatives and all the stuff, the stuff we eat nowadays, No.
It just shows you how organized and detailed Yah is. He covers all the bases, from the animals to the poor people to the servants to the stranger.
Well, it makes you wonder, I'm sure they had to use a lot of salt. So I'm sitting here thinking, aren't they telling us today salt is bad for us?
Yeah, I'm sure while it wasn't the kind we using here.
The food couldn't even be the same because when you buy fresh stuff, it only lasts a week max.
Yep.
So if they aren't using anything to preserve it, I'm wondering how they kept it that long. So
that's what they were saying.
the only other way is salt that I know of.
Unless they froze.
They ate a lot more like grains and stuff like that. They didn't really eat
grains,
all of the.
They go bad a week. If you
no, not greens. Grains. No, not greens. Grains.
Oh, okay.
Right.
We got to understand that when we get our food, that's either being shipped in or they held it, and by the time it gets to the store, it's got 2 or 3 days on it already.
No, what I'm saying is I've eaten garden fresh food where it's been picked in the whole nine. It only stayed good for a week. So for them to be able to preserve it, they had to be doing something else, or like Brother Kevin said, they was eating more grains and stuff that lasts.
Yeah, bread.
Well, the Egyptians were some of the smartest people out there, so you know they had to have better technology than what we have today, because they used to take brains out of people and put them in other people, and they'd live. So the Egyptians were some of the smartest people on earth.
Babylon, Egyptians.
All right, you guys, let's keep moving because we're doing good. All right, from sundown to sundown. So you have to understand that the way these Sabbaths ran, from sundown to sundown, the Sabbath ended. The Sabbath ends from sundown to sundown. Right? Watch. The week ends. 7-day week ends from sundown to sundown. Because at the end of the sundown tonight begins what? A new week.
Day.
Another day, which means it's a new week. So we're starting at day 1. It's a perfect 7-day count.
It's not the 8th day, it's the first day.
It's the first day, absolutely. So we on the 7-day count. So from sundown on Friday for sundown on Saturday is the 7th day, and that's the end of the 7th day, and we go into the first day of the week from sundown tonight on this calendar. On a 7-day week.
So how did they get a 365-day count?
We don't do that. Don't bring that in till we can talk about that. I want to make sure I keep everybody on this so they can get this. And once they get this, then we can go over what the Julian calendar did. But by right, we're supposed to follow this calendar. This is how we're supposed to follow this exactly with 364 days. Because they had to add some days. They had to.
Yeah.
Okay. Now watch. The year begins. The year begins on Sunday or the first day of the week after the sun goes down. So, when we go back to, let me see if I can get my thing back here. Let me get back up here again. This is why I didn't want to bring that in right away, because I didn't want to confuse anybody, but I got to go back up here to my pinwheel. Where's my pinwheel at? It's up here somewhere. Okay, hold on. Hold your horses. Oh, my gosh. Why is it all the way up here? Okay, here we go. So this is it. So right here at 12 o'clock is the beginning. This is the beginning. So from sundown to sundown here is the even week. I'm sorry, I messed up. I went back. I clicked something. Is the even right here. This is the 12 o'clock point right here. This is when we have, they call it the spring equinox, but you have from sundown on this day to sundown on this day is the day. This is one day right here. Then you start spring. So the new year starts on the first day of the week. Same thing with the next season. So we go here at sundown on the last day of spring until sundown on the summer equinox. You get the first day of summer, and it always starts on the first day of the week if you use the Enochian calendar. It's a 7-day cycle. It always starts on the first day of the week. That's how they're able to keep up with the days, Brother Kevin. So when you go here, once summer's over, and you hit this pinnacle right here at 6 o'clock, this starts at the last day of summer at sundown, and then once it goes through that whole 24-hour period, you got sundown here, then you start autumn on the first day of the week. And so forth and so on.
I got a question here.
Yes, sir.
These days saying that they 30 days. 30 days. This is what
Brother
you're saying.
Donia, we just went over that already once. I can't. You're gonna have to call me. I'll do it for you offline. I promise I will. I'll do it for you. If you call me, we'll do it offline.
But it's simple. You just said it was 28 days weeks.
What did I say?
You said it was a 28-day week.
No, I didn't. I did not say that. I said it is a 7-day week, and then we have the moon is on a 28-day cycle, which orbits the Earth 13 times, which ends up to 365 days. Because if you do it as a 28-day week, you're still going to be missing 4 days. When those 4 days equal to those 4 days right before the season starts.
That's where my problem lies. It's because we have a 28-day cycle, with the moon. Is that what you're saying? 28 days.
And again, I'll explain it to you offline when you call me after this. I'll be more than happy to do that. I will, because I want you to get it. I want you to make sure you get it. It's important that you get it because it's something that we're going to have to do. We're going to have to know how to do every time. So we know that the year ends at sundown. And then once the year ends from sundown to sundown, the new year starts.
Sister Diana.
Yes.
You get the 31 days 4 times a year when the seasons change.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Exactly how you did it. Brother Donia, I'm going to have to show it to you offline because it's going to hold up the class, and most of them get it. So I'll have to show it to you offline. But, yes, exactly. So that's how that works. Anybody have any questions other than Brother Donia? Because I know he don't get it, but I'm going to show it to him when we get offline. Because if you're just missing those 4 days, and if you understand that those 4 days are there, the Most High put those 4 days in there as the pinnacle point for each season. It makes up for the 28-day cycle of the moon because the orbit's 13 times around the Earth. And 13 times 28 is 364 days exactly. And it always ends from sundown to sundown. It's perfect. Anybody have any questions other than Adonia that relates to this, that you say, I just can't get it? And if you can't, call me. We're going to stay on this line. I know I said that last week and we got off. We're going to stay on this line until we make sure you get it. So if you don't get it, just stay on the line once the call is up, and we'll make sure you get it. Because it's really easy. And we start to count the day when the first day starts, not the day that signifies before the before the New Year's, the new season starts. But that first day, it starts at sundown. So then you start counting 1, 2, 3. We just did it, and we went with the new moon on the first month. And what was the other one? On the 4th month, and then on the 7th month, and on the 10th month. Perfect. It lines up perfect. Anybody else? I'm going to take us back up there one more time, and we're going to go through it one more time. Just the wheel, because I want you to be able to see the wheel. Because it's really, and the Most High is perfect in his execution. How he puts this together, it's like, wow. And you can't mess up. There's no way to mess up because you still on it. Let me go back here. Okay. All right, we're gonna go. Here we go. He said 300, and we're going backwards. 364 days is a year, and it's 52 weeks in a year, and there are 7 days in a week. So when you divide 7 into 364, you get 52 weeks. I told this girl at my job, she was like, I just can't get it. She said, it's 4 days missing. I said, I know. I said, I know. Hold on. And then we go back here, and we're going to do the moon. Here we go. It takes the moon 28 days to orbit the earth. It makes this orbit 13 times each year. The standard of measure is 28-day cycle called the moon. So when you multiply 13 times 28, you get 364 days. To the letter. Go back. Here it is again. Okay. This is 12 o'clock. This one here starts from, doggone it, I keep clicking it. This one here starts at midnight in the winter, and from sundown in the winter till sundown the next day, and then you start day 1. That's when you start spring. This is the first month of the new moon. This is the second of the fourth month of the new moon. This is the 7th month of the new moon, and this is the 10th month of the new moon. Like clockwork.
May I say something? This is what made it click for me. I just said that's the demarcation day, or you can think of it as a tidal page. Tidal page spring, tidal page summer, tidal page autumn. And that way you account for that day. So it's a day that's separate from the 30, and yet it marks the beginning of each one. So demarcation day or tidal page.
Exactly.
And that gives you your 4. So
it's your 4 days. So if you were to take, let me help him out here with this a little bit. I'm gonna help him because I know he's gonna be like, I don't understand, y'all. Let me pull up the calculator. So if you got, I'm doing it on the computer. If you got 7 days a week, right, Brother Donia? You there? Is he still
with
us?
I'm here.
Do you see the computer? I got the calculator.
I'm already established that. I understand that 13.
Let me finish. I'm doing it on the calculator. You got 7 days a week, right? And the times 28 days equals, hold on, I did that wrong. Hold on, let me clear that. 28 times, hold on, what's wrong with my computer? Hold on.
It's
all clear.
Times 28 plus times 28.
Huh?
13 times 28, right?
Right. So you got a 7-day week, and if you do, hold on, maybe I'm doing this wrong. Hold on, maybe
28 times 13.
Okay, that. So if you do 28 divided by, that would only give you a 4-day week. So how many days do we have in a week? We have 7, right? We have 7 days in a week.
That's correct.
So that couldn't work. But if you do 28 divided by 13, if you do 28 and you divide it by 13, that gives you 364. Is that right? Did I do that right?
You got to do 13 times 28, and then.
I'm sorry. You're right. Here it is, right here. I apologize. My brain is not functioning here. Here we go. 13 times 28 equals something wrong.
You keep clicking it wrong.
I'm doing something wrong with it. Hold on.
Yeah, because 13.
Clear everything.
28 is 300.
Breathing out.
4 days.
Yeah.
So you can't go on a 28-day cycle for the moon because there's 7 days in a week. And if you divide 7 into 28, it doesn't equal 7 days. You can't do it. Because we have it's 7 times 4 is 28.
Right. So 4 weeks a month.
Right. So it doesn't add up to, and if you do 4 weeks to a month at 28-day cycle, you're going to end up with 350.
32 days.
So that can't be so.
But that's what it is. I'm telling you.
I mean, even if we are living in today's time,
we got to do it the way the Most High said.
The only way to make it work is to have 13 months.
Exactly. So
yeah, what I'm saying is that how can you add 13 months when each week is a 7-day cycle? 7 days. You understand? And 4 times 7 is 28. Now, when you add another week, you're getting into way past 7 days.
So you can't do it by the moon. That's what we're telling you.
We got to do it the way the Most High gave us instructions.
Let me go a step further. We're not going by the moon. What we're going by from Shabbat to Shabbat is 7 days. That's what I'm going by.
But you have to do it the way the Most High tells you to do it. And the way He tells you to do it calculates out perfect. It's calculating out perfect. But again, call me after the class is over, and we'll definitely go through the rest of it. I want to go on to the next section.
If you add another week to it, it's gonna come out the way you want to it. But it's only a 4-week month.
We don't do it by the month. We don't use them. Can we change the subject? We're not going to use the month. We're going to do it the way the Most High tells us to do it. And when you do it that way, it's perfect.
Of course.
Okay, let's go into the next section real quick because I want to get into the law of purity since we got a little time because now we done got it kind of out of the way. So, Brother Doniel, you stay on the line after it's over, and we'll definitely go over that.
May I say one quick thing? Just one quick thing. It will work if you just literally take and count 7 days all through the year. You will get it because it's 52 weeks. So that doesn't change. It's a constant. 52 is a constant. 7 is a constant. So if you just literally take and plot off 7 days for the entirety of the year, you will get your 364 days.
Okay, thank you. All right, here we go. Now, this is the law of purity, and we're going to try to get over that. I appreciate everybody being patient. I appreciate everybody being quiet because everybody kind of clicked today, you know. And I knew some people wasn't going to, but that's okay because we're going to make sure we get it. So we're going to just take it. Here we go. Watch the law of purity. Physical, clean, and unclean. And this is something we have to deal with for sure because a lot of people this has been an issue. This is also a part of the law. So we have to be able to deal with this as part of the law. We're in Leviticus chapter 15, we're at verse 1. It says, "And the Most High spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man have a running issue out of his flesh, because of his issue he is unclean. And this shall be his uncleanliness in his issue, whether his flesh runs with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanness. Every bed whereon he lieth that have the issue is unclean, and everything whereon he sitteth shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth his bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until even." So there are issues where if you touch something that somebody's been on that has pus coming out or has some sort of running sore, bed sore, whatever, you are unclean until the evening. You got to wash your clothes and bathe yourself and then be unclean until even in the eyes of the Most High. Anybody have any questions?
No.
Nope? Okay, let's keep going. "And he that sitteth on anything whereon he sat that had the issue shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean unto the even. And he that touches the flesh of him that hath issues shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until even." That's why they urge you in the hospital to wear gloves. Because this stuff is contagious. It says, "And if he that hath an issue spit upon him that is clean, then he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the even. And what saddle soever he rideth upon that have the issue shall be unclean." And whosoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean unto the even. And he that beareth any of those things shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean unto the even. And whomsoever he touches that have the issue and have not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean unto the evening. And the vessel of earth that he touches, which have the issue, shall be broken. And every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when he that have an issue is clean from his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleaning and washing his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean. Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question.
There's a question in the chat. They just asked, the guest asked, can you define issue?
Pus, any sort of running sore, anything that has a running, that has something that you can touch that's contagious.
Medical disorder.
Medical disorders, yep, anything like that. Bed sores, blood, yep.
Okay, I got a question. My question is that when you say that you're going to wash yourself and be clean, is that on a 24-hour cycle, or I can touch somebody at 6 o'clock and go home and wash and be clean after evening? Is that?
Yes, it's a 24-hour cycle.
Okay, I just need.
You have to be away for 24 hours.
That is correct.
That's sun up to sundown, right?
Say again.
That's sun up to sundown, right?
Yes, ma'am, from sundown to sundown.
That is correct.
Remember, we just established that as a day, from sundown to sundown. So say I touched somebody this morning, and they were unclean, and then I came home, and I washed my clothes, and I washed myself, and I washed everything, my car out, I wiped it out and everything. Well, I wouldn't be able to participate in anything until sundown the next day.
That is correct.
Zaina, where are you reading from?
Oh, my gosh, did I give you the chapter? I think I did. Let me see. Hold on. I think
Leviticus.
Is that Leviticus 15?
Leviticus 15, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
So basically, it's to protect you from catching anything.
Or giving it to somebody else.
Or giving it, right. Or giving it to somebody else.
Not only that, man, see, what happens is that you go and do something, you understand, and then you be in the company of everybody else, so you infect everybody.
Right. And guess what? Some people will say, well, how will you know that? Because we always on public transportation, or we on public seats, or we touching doorknobs and door handles. How do you know that you can't do anything about anything you don't know? This is talking about if you know you're in the presence of somebody that has something.
Well, see, here's the thing. Like, you get up and you go and you get on the bus and you go all around the world and come on back. You understand? You got to be presumptuous to think that somebody else sat in that seat that was unclean.
And it's a possibility. That's why I encourage everybody to shower after they come home from work. And then, I was telling somebody that at work, and they was like, you shower and when you come home from work, and in the morning when you get up. Yes, I do.
Yeah, because when you're working with the public, you don't know who you're coming in contact with.
You don't know who you're talking about.
Right.
It leads for a clean nation. Most people be like, and it's like, and this little lady was like, well, I only do it once. I do it at night. And then when I'm getting up in the morning, I said, no, I like to be fresh in the morning. That's just something I do. I'm not encouraging anybody else to do that, but that's, like I said, living in this society and stuff, you can't help but to wash your hands and your clothes when you come in your house. I know when we had the bed bug scare, everybody was washing and cleaning and bathing and wiping off stuff and not letting people come in their houses. Nobody want that stuff on their furniture. People was going to work and taking their clothes off in the garage.
That's the hardest thing to get rid of, too, boy.
Yeah. They was stripping in the garage and putting the stuff in the garbage bag and then coming in the house and cleaning and bathing. Yes. Now this is the sacrifice here. It says, and on the 8th day he shall take to him 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, and come before the Most High unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and give them unto the priest. And the priest shall offer them the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Most High for his issue. Okay, now, just because we don't have all of that going on right now, you still have to follow the part that you can follow. And it's basically a being clean. Now, that's if you know somebody has an issue. But like I said, just for safety purposes, just wash. Okay, here we go with the man. This is verse 16. And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water and be unclean unto the even. And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water and shall be unclean unto the even. The woman also whom man shall lie with, seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean unto the even. That's why they don't promote sex on the Sabbath day.
Okay, got that. Okay.
Now, Marlene, guess what? When we learn better, we do better. I know we have a lot of husbands and wives on here. When we learn better, we do better. But from sundown on Friday until sundown on Saturday, no. And a perfect example of that was when the children of Israel were in the wilderness and they were getting ready to meet the Most High at the base of Mount Sinai. That's one of the things he told Moshe to tell them. Tell the men not to come at their wives. Because you couldn't stand before him in that position as unclean. It says, and if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days. Now, this is a big issue in Israel because a lot of times let me get this part. And whosoever touches her shall be unclean until even. Okay, it says that everything that she lie upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. And whosoever touches her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until even. So that when you come on your cycle or your monthly, you have 7 days. Because guess what? It usually lasts 7 days.
Unfortunately.
Yes. So the Most High is perfect in his execution of the things that he puts in place because he knows the cycle. Okay, it says, and if thou be on her bed or anything whereas she sitteth, when he touches it, he shall be unclean until even. This is the other one. It says, and if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and all the bed whereon he lieth on shall be unclean. And if a woman have an issue in her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it runs beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanliness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean. So he doesn't even promote menstrual sex because it's unclean. Or you would just be unclean. It says, every bed whereon she lieth all the days of her issue shall be unto her as a bed of her separation. And whatsoever she sitteth on shall be unclean as the uncleanliness of her separation. And whosoever touches those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the even. It says, but if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days after that she be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take unto her 2 turtles and 2 young pigeons, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Most High for the issue of her uncleanliness. Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanliness, that they die not in their uncleanliness when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. Can someone please put their phone on mute? It says, this is the law of him that have an issue, or of him whose seed goes from him, and is defiled therewith, and of her that is sick of her flower, or of him that have an issue of the man, and of the woman, of him that lieth with her that is unclean. Any questions?
I got a comment.
Yes, sir.
See, these are laws that cannot be done in these days and time, but we must take special care, you understand, not to do these things. We have to have it in our heart to want to not to do these things, you understand, so that we don't make whoever comes among us, we can't make them unclean because of our neglect. We have to take special care not to be unclean amongst other peoples of the society in these days and times. But we had like the woman was supposed to get a turtle dove and a pigeon, you understand, and make an atonement. You understand? We don't have that now.
Right. Exactly. Anybody else?
Well, we do have the Messiah, for those of us who believe that. In the Messiah, then we go to him and ask for forgiveness because he has the power to forgive our sins.
Right, once you become clean.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, but then what sin did she commit by bleeding?
It's not about it being a sin, it's just the uncleanliness of it all. I think
but
that...
what does she have to confess, though?
I don't think she has to confess. She just took a turtle dove as a part of it, and the priest, let me see, where you talk about when he made the atonement for her?
He's the priest.
But yeah, one atonement is for sin, and the other atonement is for a burnt offering.
Right, here we go. It says, and the priest shall offer one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. Hold on. Hold your horses. And the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Most High for the issue of her uncleanliness. That's a really good question. I've known a lot of people that have had issues of blood, and they have had issues in their flesh as women, and a lot of it came from choices that they made in terms of their body. I don't know. That's a very good question. It's because sin is the transgression of the law, so what law did she break? Right. That's a very good question.
What book is that you reading?
We're in Leviticus chapter 15.
There's 2 situations. There's a girl younger, like around 9 or so, when we get our period. And we have our regular period. And then there's gotten to that part yet, but then there's married women that also have
that
period.
Part of the Garden of Eden, when he cursed her, and he said that you bring forth children in great labor. That's part of it, and it begins at the menstrual cycle. That's part of the curse.
Right. But did you know that for sure that's part of the curse? Or what is the sin that the turtle dove and the and the pigeon was representing? Because we have the Messiah that takes care of that. I mean, I totally understand, like, the days and counting the days and the separation. Totally get that, totally on board with that. But the sin to separate us, and this was also for the tabernacle and being in the sanctuary, the physical sanctuary of the tabernacle, not like on the phone or praying. This is, because one of my sisters had a period that was so rough. Like, you men don't understand. It's like you can pass out. Some people have that. I didn't have that. But some people have that. And if you can't pray, protect me from this or help me from this, then that totally separates us from totally the rest of our,
because guess what? You would have to do the prayer. You could pray for her. Because I don't believe you can go before the Most High unclean.
Why is she spiritually separated from Yahweh?
That's not a spiritual separation. It's an uncleanliness separation. She's not spiritually separated from him, but you could pray for her.
Right, which I've done when I was younger. But I mean, why couldn't she pray to him? So she's not in the physical sanctuary.
They weren't. Guess what? They weren't in the physical sanctuary at the bottom of Mount Sinai either. They were outside.
No, but they were physically presented to the Messiah.
You know what? I'll put it to you like this: you have to use your own discretion. If you feel like you can go before the Most High like that, you can do that. I mean, that's up to you.
If Yahweh said that he prayed for Apostle Peter, then certainly he can pray for you because he is our high priest.
Our intercessor. Right, he's our
intercessor. Has nothing to do. Wait a second. I think everybody is getting something confused here. The laws, the statutes, and the commandments have nothing to do with that. Let's put our feelings aside and understand what's going on here.
Nobody's having any feelings. I'm just trying to get the scripture right, what I read in scripture.
Right, I'm just trying to get you to understand that when it comes to the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, we have to understand this is what we have to do. This is what they had to do back then. So when you read
but we have the Messiah now.
That doesn't take away.
It doesn't take away the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. It's a covenant.
But the turtle doves we don't do, so we can't do that. But we have the Messiah.
We still have to do the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. When we get back in the land. When we get back in the land.
But do we do the turtle doves, though?
When we get back in the land, yes, we do. All the laws,
when we get back in the land, right? Exactly.
Yes.
Okay,
so while we're out of the land and we're learning, because I just read to you where it said this is the law. This is a law. We can't discard the law because we're on the telephone. It says this is the law, and it explains the different issues of the law so that you would know what it is. And this is a part of the law that we have to keep. It's a law.
Okay,
now, whether or not Hold on. But when it comes to
how do we choose the Israelite?
Say again?
How do we know that lady with the issue of blood was an Israelite?
Because that's the only person he's talking to. He's talking to the children of Israel right now here in Leviticus, and Moshe is giving him this information for us to be able to follow by, and these are a part of the laws. These are the laws that he asked us to live by, and it gets uncomfortable. I understand. I understand how you feel about the church. I understand about the Messiah. I understand about the veil being ripped. I understand all those things that we can go to him and pray and all of the things that we did. But we still have to understand that as far as we are concerned, these are the laws. Now, we don't offer up the sacrifice anymore until we get, even when let me say this, even when we get to the land again, the sacrifices will start up again.
That's correct. Okay, let me make a distinction here. You understand? See, we have those sin offerings was done on a regular basis, whether we sinned or not, because we have to be presumptuous to say that I don't know whether I sinned, but I'm bringing up an offering anyway. You understand? Because in our travels or whatever, we may stumble and be and have done something, don't recall it. You understand? We have to bring up the priest gonna bring up sin offering continually.
And guess what? There's no sin between a man laying with his wife. That's not a sin, but it's still unclean.
What happens is that her calculation, she may have calculated wrong, and while he's in the bed, she becomes unclean. You understand? Right. He is unclean also.
Right.
Well, yeah, he knows to keep this clean, but when you lay with your husband or he lays with you, there are some times that things may come out of your mouth that may not be so clean. So I'm telling you that that's not necessarily true. I'm not trying to be gross or anything. I'm just saying there might be some things that perhaps we should not do as husband and wife, but it could happen.
Okay, let's get back to the scriptures. Here we go. We on Leviticus chapter 12. Here we go. It says, in verse 1, it says, And the Most High spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man-child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. Now, she's not done anything wrong. According to the days of the separation of her infirmities, shall she be unclean. In the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised, and she shall then continue in the blood of her purity 33 days. Watch. She shall touch no hollow thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying be fulfilled. But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks as in her separation. And she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days. And when the days of her purifying are fulfilled, for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering. How has she sinned? She just had children.
Presumptuously. She don't, you just think,
I don't know. I don't know.
Just in case that she has sinned. But let me go a step further. The priest brings sin offering every day,
all day. So what I'm saying is, I said that to say this. Those things were done out of obedience because this is what the Most High required. It's no different than the count of the calendar. This is what he required, and they were bringing forth children, which is what they were told to do, was to be fruitful and multiply. But even with that, they still had to bring an offering. Watch. Unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priest, he said, who shall offer it before the Most High to make an atonement for her, and she shall be cleansed from the issue of her blood. There's a big deal about blood, I'm telling you.
That's correct.
It's a big deal about blood.
Yeah, the sin go back to your garden.
You know, it does. And you don't really think about that, but the children, she didn't do nothing wrong by having children, but this was what he required.
That is correct.
And you know what? These are the things that the children of Israel didn't want to do.
That is
We're
correct.
in Leviticus chapter 12 now, and this is why we got in trouble. They probably felt like we felt like, what's the purpose? We did not have some kids. Why we got to go through all that? Why we got to bring a turtle dove and stuff? We supposed to be fruitful and they just ignored it and didn't do it. And he said, because you refuse to do what I say do, I'm going to put you somewhere where you ain't got to do none of that. You ain't got to worry about it. They don't care whether you clean or not. They don't care whether or not you have sex when you're on your period. They don't care what you do. They don't care about the man's seed spilling to the ground. You can do whatever you want to do. But what comes with that is the torture of knowing that these people don't care what you do because they do what they want to do, and they don't like you as a process.
That's the problem that's the problem that got us in the trouble that we are in, is because we stopped doing the laws, and so in that case we made everybody unclean. Yeah. And we messed up, and that's what I was saying before when Brother Combs got mad at me, and I didn't mean for him to get mad. I was just using him as an example, but this is exactly what I'm saying. There's things like these simple things, right? It's easy to do the other part. We can keep the Sabbath from sundown to sundown. We know we're not supposed to eat pork. We can do those things with ease. It's flawless. But it's things like these that people say, well, why should we have to do all that? I don't understand. I take a bath and I can just come in. No, this is not how it operates. He has a certain way things are to be done, and this is how he wants it done. So guess what?
They're doing it in heaven.
And guess what? For for a woman's cycle, when she's on her cycle, you know, a lot of men have her sleep in another room. And they be like, well, I ain't got no other room. Where's she supposed to sleep at? Because if she sleep on the couch unclean. So what we so not supposed to sleep on the couch? What am I supposed to do? And nobody takes into consideration that these are the things that we are told to do. And we all messed up on this phone. Everybody messed up, me included. Didn't nobody teach me this. They didn't.
Yeah, a lot of the purifications, too, is because a lot of the feast days and a lot of different things, they're doing it in heaven. So the Most High is trying to make us pure so that we can have those days while they do it in heaven. That's something to think about also.
And look at what it says. He said, this is the law. Again, it's a law for her that have born a male or a female. It's a law. This is the law we didn't want to keep.
That is correct. You understand? You know, and see, that's the problem. See, when we don't do the law or we don't follow the law, we contaminate the whole society.
So everything we sit on, when the women are on their cycle, everything we lay on has to be cleaned. It has to be washed. It has to be purified. You have to be cleaned. And everything has to be done for a certain amount of days for you to be unclean.
What do you think about all the women that actually do most of the work in the churches? Not that we're
That's crucial.
It's just like it's everything. I saw that when I was in the church, and I said, if I have a monthly cycle and I'm unclean for 7 days, I look forward to not doing crap around the house.
Wow, cooking food and everything. They do it all. Nobody follows his laws, statutes, and commandments. They in the church kitchen cooking dinners for the church. All that.
I had mentioned, that's what I'm saying, man. When we do not do those laws, we put everybody in jeopardy of being unclean. We have cooks and et cetera, and everybody waiting on everybody, this and that and other. But see, the sin clarifies you. I mean, the offering, you understand, at least gives the Almighty an opportunity to say, well, she made an effort, her heart was in there, hallelujah. You understand? But you know what? One other thing here is that the priest makes offerings, sin offerings, daily, whether we bring one up or not. This is for the house.
Who's making the offerings now?
Well,
we don't do the offering now. All we can do is make sure that we follow the law for the cleanliness part, because there's no one to do the offering now. If you don't believe in the Messiah, well, we don't even know what sin it was she created. I don't even know what.
I'm talking in general. I'm not just talking about the blood, but any sin. How do you get rid of sin now? We don't know who the priests are, and
well,
they're
guess
not
what?
Because we're in the land of our captivity.
Okay,
we're in the land of our captivity.
Everybody, hold on. Take a deep breath. Let me say this. We have two groups of people that are in on this phone. We have Messianic and non-Messianic. For the Messianics, we believe that in order for us to get rid of our sin, we have an advocate with the Father, that he goes before the Father and pleads on our behalf. Now, even with that, you still, and it's no different than being in church, you had to have somebody pray for you when you was in church for certain things. We got in the prayer line or called the prayer number, whatever. In this case, somebody would have to do the prayer for you. In the case for those that don't believe in the Messiah, and there's no law and there's no priest in place, the Most High knows that too, because we're all in the land, like he said, we're in the land of our captivity. We do the best we can. Either with any of the laws and statutes and commandments that we keep, we do the best we can where we are.
So we're both supposed to follow the law.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So we follow the law, and we do what we need to do in terms of being clean and unclean. Then you wash your clothes, you're unclean for 7 days, and then you're clean. We don't have any of the animal sacrifices at all. And then when we go into the sacrificial law for where you have to kill certain animals for certain things, you'll see that all of the laws come with some form of sacrifice. But it doesn't mean we don't do it. We do the best we can where we are, because he knows we're in captivity.
Yeah, a great example of that is the story of the book of Daniel. You see that they were in captivity in Babylon, they couldn't do a whole lot of stuff. They wasn't doing no sacrifices in Babylon because they were under the authority of the Babylonians and then the Persians. So what we see in Ezra, when they left and they went back to Jerusalem, what did they do? They got the priests and they got the Levites and they did what the Most High ordained them to do, which is
and that's
sacrifice.
What grace is. And grace gives you the opportunity to be able to not be held accountable for the things that you cannot do.
But the reason why we're in captivity is because people weren't following the law. The reason why we're in captivity is because no one was following the law.
Right,
that's both ways.
And you have to fulfill the entire captivity. It's like you crash in the car and you're able to drive, but you took it without telling your mom. She said you're grounded for 7 days. Well, guess what? You got to fulfill that whole 7 days until you get off punishment. So regardless, we got to fulfill this whole captivity until it's time for us to go.
And we do the best we can where we are while we're doing it. And grace gives us the ability to be able to not do it all because he knows we can't do it all. We can't burn no animals and sacrifice no animals in this land. We can't do it.
It's the intentions of our heart.
And guess what? And those who believe that the Messiah is the sacrifice, that he's been the sacrificial lamb, we still get the same amount of grace. Because guess what? We ain't taken out for the things that we don't do right. Because either way it go, the Most High don't play. He just does not play. And it's something about this blood issue that really takes him to that level to the point where he just doesn't play. So grace plays a big part in it all, allowing us to get through this captivity so that once we get back to the place of the safety or the wilderness or whatever, then we may be held accountable under the same things once we get this together. But grace plays a major part in this thing that allows both sides to be able to say, hey, y'all, I'm doing the best I can. I'm in captivity. I'm trying to honor your laws, statutes, and commandments. And you know there are certain things that we just cannot do, but I'm doing the best I can. Then to just not do nothing, because some people feel like we can't follow the law in captivity. So then what that mean? Do we just do what we want until we get out? I've heard Israelites say that. Well, we can't even follow the laws. We can't even do the high holy days. Well, what are we supposed to do then? Just sit around and just do whatever until he comes and gets us? You make no effort at all to do any of it?
Oh, that's not even true. And one thing that we have to understand is the Almighty checks your heart. You understand?
Yeah.
Heart to do the laws, and you know that you can't do it. You ask the Almighty for your forgiveness. That's why I say all the time that we must repent on a daily basis.
You better say that again. For real. And with each one, they had these animal sacrifices. And it says, and listen what verse 8, if she be not able to bring a lamb, then she can bring 2 turtle doves and 2 pigeons. And we're going to get into the sacrificial law because that's what we have to understand. It says the one for the burnt offering and the other for a sin offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for her, and she shall be clean. All right, here's the one about death, Numbers chapter 19. We almost finished. It says we're going 11 through 16, and then we're going to do 20 through 22. It says, he that touches the dead body of any man shall be unclean for 7 days. It says, he shall purify himself on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean. It says, whosoever touches the dead body of any man that is dead, and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle of the Most High. And that soul shall be cut off from Israel, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. When he shall be unclean, his uncleanliness is yet upon him. Now they had a system where they took the water and they sprinkled it on him, and this is the process by which he was going to be clean. Now watch verse 14. This is the law when a man dieth in a tent, in a room, in a place. All that come into the tent and all that is in the tent shall be unclean for 7 days. And every open vessel which has no covering bound upon it is unclean. And whosoever touches one that is slain with a sword in the open field, or a dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. But the man that shall be unclean and shall not purify himself, that soul shall be cut off from among the congregation, because he has defiled the sanctuary of the Most High. The water of separation has not been sprinkled upon him, he is unclean. And it shall be a perpetual statute unto them, that he that sprinkled the water of separation shall wash his clothes, and he that touches the water of separation shall be unclean until even. And whatsoever the unclean person touches shall be unclean, and the soul that touches it shall be unclean unto the even. Now this is, I think it's our last one. It says the law of killing. And this is Numbers chapter 31, verse 19 to 24. It says, verse 19, and do ye abide without the camp 7 days, whosoever hath killed any person. And whosoever has touched any slain, purify both yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. And purify all your raiment, and all that is made of skin, and all works of goat hair, and all things made of wood. And Eleazar the priest said unto the men of war which went to battle, this is the ordinance of the law which the Most High commands Moses. Only the gold and the silver, the brass, the iron, the tin, and the lead, everything that may abide the fire, ye shall make it go through the fire, and it shall be clean. Nevertheless, it shall be purified with water of separation, and all that abideth not the fire ye shall make go through the water. And ye shall wash your clothes, and on the 7th day ye shall be clean, and afterwards ye shall come into the camp. Okay, now we can get into leprosy next week. I don't want to do all that, but I just wanted to share some of that with you today because, a lot of people, it's very serious. Like I said, we can only do what we can do. We can only do what we can do. So that just means, when we go through those things, we wash ourselves and we're clean, and even when you have a baby, they give you so many weeks off work.
Some companies do, some don't. That's a shame, though.
Well, they're supposed to.
Yeah, they should. They absolutely should.
They supposed to, but it's just we do the best we can, sis, and brothers and sisters. We do the best we can with what we have to work with because He knows we're in this captivity, and everything that we're involved in is contrary to the word of the Most High. And people, especially in the Christian church, anything and everything goes as long as you speaking in tongues and you shouting and and you good, everything goes, and that's just not the God that we serve.
Right. I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, once anybody, man or woman, is on the bed or sitting in the chair or whatever, that they have the issue, either blood or emissions or whatever, once that time is over and they're clean, does that item, the bed, the chair, become now clean too?
Yeah, as long as you wash it, like you washing the sheets. And you wash the blankets, and you wash the pillows, and all that stuff. You take it to the laundromat, and you wash it.
Okay, now, if you're sitting in a chair, do you wash the chair?
I would, or I would put something over the chair so that when you finish doing whatever you're doing, you can just take that item and wash the item.
I think in the biblical
okay, and I have another...
in the session. Thank you guys so much for listening to us. We appreciate you being with us this evening. This will be on the internet, and we thank you. I am going to disconnect the recording, and we thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For you all who want to stay behind